Hey everybody, this is Andy Bishona and Andy Bishona Speaks. After hosting Wheel of Fortune for more than 40 years, Pat Sajak gave the wheel a final spin. Just like Alex Trebek and Bob Barker, it's hard to believe that an iconic game show host would give his last episode. It's like losing our childhood right before our eyes. However, not many people know Pat Sajak is not the original host of Wheel of Fortune. Yes, he held that role for more than 40 years, but Wheel of Fortune premiered in the 70s when 10-cent beer night was all but a fading memory. So, who was the original host of Wheel of Fortune? Right in this picture you see right here, it's Chuck Woolery. Yeah, you probably heard his name for the wrong reason, but he was a really big deal as a game show host throughout the 80s. Formerly known as Shopper's Bazaar, Chuck hosted Wheel of Fortune alongside Susan Stafford. It had decent ratings, but it was nowhere near Family Feud or Match Game. By the time the 80s roll around, Wheel of Fortune was on the brink of cancellation. Yet at the 11th hour, Wheel of Fortune survived the chopping block. Merv Griffin started production again, the crew went back to work, and Stafford went back turning letters. So if Wheel of Fortune survived cancellation, why isn't Chuck hosting Wheel anymore? Simple as always, it was contract disputes. At the time, hosts like Richard Boston and Bob Barker had a hefty salary of around $500,000. Adjusted for inflation, that's about $1 million. Merv Griffin rejected the proposal but offered him a compromised salary, assuming Wheel of Fortune continued production. Although the network intended to cover the difference, Merv threatened to move his production to another studio, so that was out. As for Chuck, thinking he was too important for Wheel, stood firm. Unfortunately, the holdout didn't last, and Chuck was booted from Wheel of Fortune after recording his last show on Christmas. So yeah, Pat Sajak took over the role and the rest became history. As for Chuck, he eventually hosts other game shows including Scrabble, Love Connection, and Lingo. Not quite a mega hit as Wheel of Fortune, but at least it did pay the bills and he get to extend his appearance for a few more decades. Fun fact, when he hosted Fox's Greed, one of the questions was about Chuck Woolery himself. In this question, Chuck asked which game show he didn't host. The choices were Love Connection, Scrabble, Wheel of Fortune, and Singled Out. Unfortunately, contestants picked Wheel of Fortune and locked it in. Chuck, trying to keep his composure, knew the contestants got it wrong. When it was revealed they got the wrong answer, on his own question, by the way, he just broke. Probably the funniest, saddest event in your life when your successor is more famous than you. Heck, at the time, I didn't even know he hosted Wheel of Fortune. I thought he appeared in Singled Out. Turns out I was referring to the data game while Singled Out was hosted by Jenny McCarthy and whoever that guy was. So yeah, unlike Pat, I'm not sure if Chuck Woolery had moved on from blowing what could have been his iconic role. Nowadays, you could probably feel his bitterness whenever he talks on social media. And that concludes Chuck Woolery's run on Wheel of Fortune. Tune in next time, I'm going to discuss Pat Sajak's transition to Wheel of Fortune and his intended career.